It's gonna cost how much? If you've ever brought your finished film or project to a vendor in post-production, trying to get a quote for your visual effects, and then you were slapped in the face by a number that was, we'll say, significantly more than you had expected. You might be wondering, why do VFX cost so much? Now, if that sounds like a familiar scenario to you, don't worry, I'm going to break it down for you, and by the end of this video, I'll show you a few ways you can get ahead of those overages and keep your costs from exploding. And my first suggestion would be to hit that subscribe button and smash that bell for alerts, because in my experience, a major factor that can lead to VFX costing more than they need to is a lack of understanding about the VFX process. And I've made it my mission to help indie filmmakers save both time and money on their visual effects by pulling back the curtain on the VFX pipeline and bringing you tips, tutorials, and interviews to help you do just that. So where do we start? Why do VFX cost so much? Well, first and probably the biggest reason, time. Despite the promise of artificial intelligence with programs like Midjourney, Sora AI, Google Veo, and others, there is no one-click button for visual effects to make themselves. At least not yet. Many artist hours of work go into each and every shot by a real human being who needs their fair compensation for their time. And in most cases, there are teams of people working on the many moving parts of a single shot. Have you seen the end credits of any Marvel film? Another factor that goes into creating high-end visual effects? Overhead. I'm talking about office space, computers and server systems, licenses for the software that runs on those computers, and the big one most people forget? The electric bill. Not just to run the computers and servers, which can already be astronomical, but to run the air conditioning needed to keep those computers cool. Right now you might be saying, okay, that all makes sense, but these are things that are outside my control. What can I do to help bring down the cost of my visual effects? Well, a lot actually. First, seek a consult early, and I mean early. A lot of productions get into trouble when they completely shoot and edit their films without the involvement of a VFX professional. Many times, productions look at visual effects like this. Step 1, shoot movie. Step 2, give footage to VFX person. Step 3, they do something with it in the computer, and then VFX. But here's the problem with step 1. If you just shoot movie however you're gonna shoot movie, you might not have shot movie in the most ideal or useful way for step 3. Maybe you didn't use a green screen when you should have. Maybe you used one when you probably should not have. Or maybe one of any number of things was just slightly off, but could have been avoided if a VFX professional was just consulted with early or was on set to catch the problem on the day. Any one of these scenarios almost always leads to those 4 little words that inevitably lead to higher costs in post-production. Fix it in You see, fixing almost anything in post means you have to use more laborious techniques and approaches to do the job than if it was just shot correctly in the first place. I've personally seen fixes like these exponentially inflate the cost of creating what should have been a relatively inexpensive shot, and that's the last thing I want for you. That's why I wrote my new book, Shooting for VFX, Your On-Set Guide to Saving Money in Post-Production. In it, I walk you through how to plan your visual effects before you ever hit record, so you can avoid costly mistakes, skip the reshoots, and stop bleeding money in post. Whether you're working with green screens, set extensions, or simple display comps, this book shows you how to prep like a pro, even on an indie budget. So grab your copy now at vfx2go.com/shootingforvfx or click on the link below. Now, whatever the scenario, involving a VFX professional early can help avoid most, if not all, the problems associated with fixing it in post. So how early should you get a VFX professional involved? Well, if you're currently in the process of writing a script, now might be a good time. See, when you're in the script phase, everything is blue sky. You're coming up with all your wildest ideas, as you should, because everything is still just that, an idea. But when you're writing this story, you're not necessarily thinking about what it would cost to pull off the effects you're writing. And you might be writing visual effects into your story that you didn't even know were visual effects, like TVs, cell phones, computer screens, large signs, or crowds of people. The point is, you don't know what you don't know. And a VFX professional can look through your script and help find all the little things that add up to major costs in post. And if those effects are important enough to the story to keep them in the film, a VFX professional can help you find the most economical way to execute those effects so you don't need to fix it in post. Another way of getting ahead of overages in post is through previsualization or previs. By creating storyboards and animatics, you're creating a blueprint for each shot, giving your VFX team a solid foundation to then design how to execute your shot in the most efficient and economical way for your budget. Now, if you're not an illustrator or you don't have experience creating storyboards, I highly recommend you check out the app Previs Pro. Previs Pro is a powerful app for the iPad Pro or iPhone Pro, which allows you to quickly and accurately mock up scenes, camera angles, and lighting conditions, and export them as storyboards or animatics. You can even use augmented reality to set up your scene on location and see if your shots will work the way you intended. Now, there are way more advanced features to Previs Pro that I don't have time to get into here, so I highly recommend you check out this video here to learn more about how Previs Pro can help you save both time and money on your VFX. Until next time, I've been Jake, and remember, together we can reframe what's possible.